Let's take a look at the TCU offense now and how they match up with the Georgia defense. First, let's take a look at this offense. And really, this offense led by Max Duggan, Quentin Johnson on the outside, Kendry Miller, DeMarcado. This is a really good offense. It's one of the most balanced offenses in the country, and it's also one of the most explosive offenses in the country. Keep in mind now, this is a team that can create fast touchdowns. In fact, they've got 21 plays so far this season of over 50 yards, not just 20 yards, right? Normal explosive plays, but like the super explosive plays, 50 yards. How do they do that? Well, they've got a quarterback that can run. They've got a wide receiver that might be the number one wide receiver taken in the NFL draft. They've got a really good back. They've got a really good offensive line. Let me show you how they attack teams, and it's really in a number of different ways. First and foremost here, what you're going to see is they've only got 5 guys to block 6. So they need to recruit their quarterback into the run scheme by running this zone read. So now this defensive end's got to take the quarterback, and what happens? A little bit of a gash right there, and there's DeMarcado, boom. And you see the speed. This is one thing that TCU has that I think might take Georgia by surprise. TCU is fast, very fast. I think it's probably the best team trait that they have, both offensively and defensively, is their speed. I showed you their defensive speed at linebacker and safety, their fast flow over the top. Well, their offense equally as fast, okay? And the guy on the outside is a matchup nightmare, and this is one of the things you have to have in order to beat Georgia. They're going to have to sit there and take shots. All right, so let's take a look at this next play. When you've got a one-on-one on the outside with Quentin Johnston, Max Duggan is going to have to take and win shots. Duggan's one of the most accurate passers in the country when he's throwing the ball 20 yards or more down the field. Quentin Johnston has to have a huge game. It brings me to really the 2 keys for TCU on offense. In order to beat Georgia, your wide receiver has to be great. He's got to win one-on-one. So Quentin Johnston's going to have to win one-on-ones on the outside. It's one of the things that Marvin Harrison was able to do in that game against Ohio State and Georgia. And I think Quentin Johnston is going to have to win the one-on-ones on the outside. He's got to create big plays and manipulate the coverage so that they can maybe run the football, that maybe they can get somebody else open going down the field. So that's huge. And then the next thing that they have to do, the quarterback has to exploit Georgia running the football. Max Duggan is going to have to play great. Now, granted, obviously you can't turn the ball over. You're going to have to hit the shots when they're there. But then as we saw with C.J. Stroud in that semifinal, when it's available to run, you've got to hurt the Georgia defense. And guess what? The Georgia defense can be hurt by a quarterback that will take off. And I don't know if there's any better than Max Duggan in particular in big moments. There's guys that are maybe more athletic, but when you're talking about the combination of throwing the ball down the field from the pocket and the ability to run and just the gritty toughness that Max Duggan has, that competitive spirit, he might be the perfect guy to face Georgia. Those 2 things have to take place if TCU wants to stay close in this game. So what does Georgia do to combat all that? Well, this defense is so good. All right, the first thing that they do, this defense, is that they build a run wall with their defensive line. That defensive line allows them to play split safety a lot. They can keep their safeties back and stay safe in coverage. Keep guys over the top of players like Marvin Harrison or Quentin Johnston. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. In their game against Tennessee, Tennessee came in with a really good run game. But guess what? They had 6 guys in the box, 6 guys to block them. And yet, guess what? Stalemates across the board, and they stopped the run. You can't beat Georgia if you're going to get stalemated by 6 and 6. Okay, so that's one of their superpowers. What does that allow them to do? Keep their safeties back. They don't have to commit any safeties to the run defense because their defensive tackles are so good. So then what happens? Well, let's take a look at the SEC championship game. They've got 2 safeties back deep, okay? They can stay there. Then they can blitz and play heavy inside leverage with their outside linebacker. And as LSU's trying to throw a slant, it's nowhere to be found. And now the blitz gets there, they got to throw it away. So again, safe coverage, and they're very smart. That linebacker, that outside linebacker understands, or even nickel safety, whatever, whoever's in the game personnel-wise, he understands like, okay, guess what? I've got a blitz going over to my inside, and I've got safety help. Well, they're going to try to exploit the blitz, so he just plays heavy inside leverage. It's really smart stuff. They understand what they're trying to do, and it's really born. The genesis is from that defensive line. Last thing that I'll show you about this Georgia team is their coverage can help their pass rush. Their pass rush isn't dominant, but when their coverage locks on, forces the quarterback to pump and hold the ball, the rush can get there. All right, so when you're talking about those little moments, watch for Max Duggan's ability to throw the ball in rhythm on time. If he can do that, then he'll likely stay clean. But if he's having to double pump and then run around, it could be a different story with that rush getting home, and that's exactly how they were able to beat Tennessee. This is going to be a great game. I really do believe. I think it's going to be closer than the experts believe. I think it's going to be closer than the spread. Georgia probably wins this game. But I tell you what, I think we're in for an absolute treat. Georgia could be giving up some points. There could be some big plays down the field. And don't underestimate the heart of Max Duggan and that TCU team. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here. College football on Fox.